On the side of my toothpaste tube was an 800 number. It said, "Please call us with your questions." I called it. A very polite woman with a Midwestern accent offered to tell me anything I wanted to know. I asked her why people insist on backing into parking spaces, but never learn how to do it correctly on the first try. There was an 800 number on the back of a bottle of ketchup. I called it, and a very nice woman with a southern accent answered. She invited me to ask a question. I asked her where homeless people get Sharpie markers to make signs. There was an 800 number on the bottom of my box of batteries. I called it, and a very nice woman with a Las Vegas accent offered to answer any questions I had. I asked her why I've never met a black woman named Caitlin. On the back of a roll of toilet paper was an 800 number. It said, "Would you like to know more?" I called it. A wonderful woman with a New Jersey accent offered to answer my questions. I asked her how Big Bang Theory is simultaneously the top-rated show with the highest-paid actors and the worst show to ever make it past its first season. There are 800 numbers on the back of nearly every product, and I'm here today to ask why you've never called one. Or maybe that's just not a thing where you live. Hello, and welcome to Please Excuse My Dead Aunt Sally, the podcast where I live in a universe where someone, somewhere, is getting paid to sit by her phone and wait for you to call and ask inane questions about mustard, deodorant, and Scotch tape. The universe that you may live in as well. To eliminate any confusion, just be on the lookout for an 800 number on the packaging to everyday products in your house. The phone number someone took the time to set up, print, and send to your home, but that you and everyone you know has never called. Thank you for listening to Please Excuse My Dead Aunt Sally, the podcast full of observational humor that's only funny to people who never leave their houses. And now for some listener letters. To have your question read on the show, write to pleaseexcusemydeadauntsally@gmail.com. Our first question today comes from Steve at the Fire on Your Head podcast. Steve asks, "Hey Mike, what is the square root of pi?" Excellent question, Steve. You know, I'm not much of a math guy. I once broke an abacus trying to figure out how I could possibly give 110%. While researching this question, I found the answer 1.77245385, which apparently is an irrational number. When I researched irrational numbers, I learned that that is a real number that cannot be written as a simple fraction. Apparently, a fraction is a numerical quantity that is not a whole number. And check this out, a number is a mathematical object used to count, measure, and label. So now, I am at least one smarter than I was when I started. Oh, and I found a bunch of recipes for math nerds. I'll link to those in the show notes. Our next question comes from Cornelius Longweatherby in Indianapolis, Ohio. Cornelius asks, "How do I open my third eye for fifth dimensional transcendence? Also, what was touring with Danzig like?" Well, Cornelius, those questions appear to be unrelated. The surest way I have found to get that third eye wide open is to eat expired salami. About 1 month over ought to do it. Ah yes, but on tour, Glenn Danzig used to keep pounds of cured meat on the bus. Now, he also used to do crazy stuff, like threaten to punch out anyone who owns a cell phone. Oh, and one time he tried to beat up a guy for sneezing in a way that sounded like a camera going off. Oh, what a nut. Now is the perfect time to announce my new product launch. One day I ran out of my favorite cologne. I went to the mall and learned that it had been discontinued. It was a devastating experience. But recently I was cleaning my bathroom, and I accidentally mixed drain cleaner with hand soap and a dash of Miller High Life. The smell was identical to the cologne that I was so missing. Since then, I've been making my own cologne in the bathroom sink. I call it Lavabo. Lavabo. Coming soon to a fine retailer near you. Our final question today comes from Chloe at the Not Quite the Afterglow podcast. Chloe asks, "Hey Mike, what is the thing that meatloaf won't do for love?" That's a wonderful question, Chloe. As far as I understand, the only thing meatloaf would not do for love was try ketchup on eggs. The song is pretty much today's green eggs and ham, but, with ketchup. It's right there in the 19th verse. I think you need to listen to all 12 minutes and 1 second of this masterpiece again, Chloe. Meatloaf was never one to cloak his intentions in poetic ambiguity. That's our show for today. Thank you so much for listening. Music for today's show was Local Forecast and In Your Arms by Kevin MacLeod. Please take a moment to leave a nice rating on iTunes.
Hey, you're a fucking idiot. We're all doing that. Bye-bye.